How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sane, and today we're going to be kind of taking a look back over to that previous tier list video I made. Now that World's Edge is back into the equation, talking a little bit more about the differences between ranked and competitive play, as well as just doing a little update. I've been talking to some more players, getting some more pro opinions, and just as time progressed, I know it hasn't been a long time since that video came out, but as time progresses, as people start to figure things out, things in the meta will change. So we're going to talk about some of those things. I'm going to put in the timestamps below in the description, talking about everything. So we're about the segments we talk about. First off, we're going to talk about ranked and how that looks. Then we're going to get into competitive Olympus, and then we're going to end off in competitive World's Edge. And I'll put those timestamps in the description below. So if you just want to skip ahead to those parts, feel free to go ahead. So we're going to start off with just ranked, and I just want to first off kind of give like a little rundown of basically the whole thing that changed with ranked. So right here on the screen I've got the original list we had up. This is how everyone was ranked before. Just to kind of get a look of like what we were talking about before. With ranked, the thing is you really can get away with playing whoever you want a lot more. Like ranked is a lot of there's a lot of randomness to ranked in terms of who you get as teammates. So the important thing with ranked is you should just play whatever character you feel the most comfortable with. And so if you feel the most comfortable getting in and out of fights and surviving with Mirage, then you should play Mirage because that's what's going to be best for you. If you feel the most comfortable with Loba, again, you play Loba. Doesn't matter what the ranking, like the ranking really doesn't matter for, or the tier list really shouldn't matter for ranked. It really matters about what you're the most comfortable with. Now, the rankings are still important for saying what characters are stronger, like what just characters are just stronger overall. But it really comes down to who are you the best with? Like who's your best character? And the thing is with ranked is a lot of the time now when you're queuing into ranked with like a pre-made squad, then pretty much that whole thing kind of goes. You have a lot more communication. You usually understand playstyles a little better, so a lot of this kind of randomness goes out the window. But when you're solo queuing in ranked, you have no idea the playstyle of anybody else except for yourself. But you do know yourself, so that's why it's you just want to play your own way the strongest you can. That's not me telling you to run away from your squad and play solo. No, you're still supposed to play with your squad, but you don't understand their playstyle the same way that they don't understand your playstyle. So in ranked, if you feel the best with Bangalore, then play Bangalore. Doesn't matter that Gibraltar is better than Bangalore. Now you should honestly try to play Gibraltar over Bangalore if you take the game seriously. But like if you take the game seriously, then like yeah, you should start learning better characters. But like if you don't play ranked, like if ranked is the most serious you want to go, and you are the best with Bangalore, then play Bangalore in ranked. Like it's fine. It's whoever you feel the most comfortable with. Like this is talking about like high level play, like high level like diamond or above. Like this isn't even talking about platinum. This is like talking about like diamond, masters, and more importantly predator for ranked. It's really just play whoever you want. Like play whoever you are the most comfortable with. Now there again, like character abilities are going to like play a factor. Like obviously Bangalore is a worse character than Gibraltar. So if you are just as good with Bangalore as you are with Gibraltar, then play Gibraltar. He's literally going to carry you a lot more than Bangalore will. But yeah, that's the whole thing. So this is the original list. For ranked, it's just kind of split into this. The best few characters, the good characters for if you want to play defensive, the more risky characters for any reason, and then just the characters who have lackluster abilities. So the lackluster abilities, I'm not really going to go too in depth with all of these abilities. I've gone a little bit more in depth in the previous tier list video, so if you want to check that out, I'll link that in the description below as well. If you really want to get more of a breakdown for some characters' abilities, as well as feel free to comment or message me personally, and I can go a little bit more in detail on explaining why some of the character abilities are bad, why some character abilities are good, give you more of a rundown on it. But for this video, I'm just going to be pretty simplistic. These 5 all here, as I said in the last video, as has been said multiple times, their abilities are just lackluster for the team. Like they're just lackluster abilities compared to the rest of the cast. Everyone above them just has better abilities, just straight up better abilities. That's why they're down here. Again, if you are the best with one of these 5 characters, then play the 5 characters. But it doesn't mean that their abilities are. That still doesn't help the fact that their abilities are worse than everybody who's up here. So I'm going to jump straight into risky, and I'm going to take it one by one. So the reason Horizon is risky is because when you get to high level play, Horizon is essentially a better Octane, but still a worse Pathfinder and Wraith. Horizon's ability, she has a very good mobility. She's got a lot of, she gets her gravity lift every 15 seconds, so she's going to have the mobility. It's going to be very accessible to her most of the time. The thing is, at higher level play, a lot of abilities get shut down because when you're going up on the gravity lift, you really can't go very far. Even though you can strafe in the air, a good player still knows how to beam you down. So when you're going on the gravity lift, a good player will still beam you down. And you're still vulnerable. It's a little risky to do. Even though it's a good ability, like against good players, you have to be careful because they will. You're still somewhat of a sitting duck. Although it's good. It's a good ability. It's better than these abilities because you can get high ground. Her ultimate, people have begun to realize that if you just focus fire that thing immediately, it only has like 175 HP. That's about one person. If you just focus fire that thing and just break it immediately, it's useless. So her ultimate really isn't that great. So that's why she's kind of here and risky. Crypto is risky because his abilities are really good, but Crypto and Revenant too both require a lot of communication to function properly. Not only just like good team composition, but just communication. And when you're queuing into ranked, you don't really know if you're gonna get somebody with a mic or somebody who could even hear you because they might be in a party chat or blasting music or something. So without the proper communication of like when Crypto's going to be EMPing and stuff, and when the whole team is moving, Crypto can get left behind, and it's just kind of a big mess. So his abilities are very good, but in a ranked atmosphere where people are kind of just moving around and you don't have as much communication, it's a lot riskier to play as. Just because you might get left behind or something. But his abilities are very good, and as you'll see later in ranked, he's very competitive. He's a very good competitive character. Now, Revenant's kind of is risky for kind of the same reason as communication. Revenant requires a really good team composition to really be super like oppressive. Because his whole strat is like the death totem. You jump in the death totem, you get basically 2 pushes. You go in like through Wraith Portal or something and push. Without a good team composition and also without team communication, people won't be near you when you put your death totem down, so it'll just be hectic. So a lot of times you might just have to put the death totem down for just you to use, or just you and one other person to use, as well as just like his whole team composition with other characters has been changed after they did the nerf to you can't go through Wraith's portal after going on a death totem for like 5 seconds or so. That's a long time. That was old team composition was like Wraith, Revenant, Crypto. You just EMP people and push them with the totem. That's not really a play anymore. And yeah, without good communication, Revenant just gets kind of risky. So he's still got really good abilities, but like with lacking communication, it's tougher. Now, Watson and Caustic are the two. If you want to play defensively, if your playstyle is defensively, you could totally get away with playing Watson or Caustic in ranked. They're both very good ability. They're both very good. If you're going to be playing these two and you're really going to be making these two, you're going to have to be you're going to want to be on a mic. I mean, you're always going to want to be on a mic if you're playing. If you're playing this game, you want to be on a mic so you can communicate with your team. But you want to really be calling the shots of where you're holding down in all these areas, because Watson and Caustic, while you're just running around and like don't have a designated area you're holding down, they're really just like not very good. Because you really want to set up an ability, you want to set up an area and hunker that down and really save that for yourself. So if you feel comfortable doing that, if you feel comfortable communicating, and feel like you can kind of take authority for the team, even with these teammates you've never played before, and be like, hey, we're holding down this area, I'm gonna get this all set up, then they can be very good and they can really help you live for a long time. And then just the best characters overall, like they're really flexible for the aggressive play, they're all just have really good abilities. Pathfinder has a lot of good in and out abilities, has really good mobility with his grapple. Especially if you use hook, which is the tech where you grapple and jump and you get a lot of momentum and go very far. Pathfinder is going to be the best at running away, so you can live for long enough if your whole squad just gets like dumped on. You can also push into fights and play very aggressively. Bloodhound's just super good. The scan is really good in combat for wall hacks, as well as just getting an idea of how many people are around. And when you go into Bloodhound's ultimate, you become basically the best character in the game. Ultimate Bloodhound is just so fast, and such a good character. Lifeline and Gibby are both very, very useful, mainly for the fact that they can safely revive people and keep your team alive. Lifeline can put her dock revive out, put that big old shield, and res somebody, and then also go res somebody else. As well as she can put her health drone out and just keep the team alive for longer. Gibby's dome shield can give the whole team fast heals, and as well he can fast revive people inside of it. As well as he just lives for a long time because gun shield and his abilities are just really good. And then Wraith is just super safe. I mean, if you're playing aggressively, like her, Bloodhound, and Pathfinder, like probably your best picks for aggressive play. You can just, as long as you remember to use her tactical ability, you can get in and out of fights very well. You're really not gonna, you might not be using Portal as much, but Portal's still a good ability, and you can use it to kidnap people and take on squads easier. And yeah, she's just a really good character. So ranked is more gonna look something like this. Again, this is very loose and just really plays to whoever you're good with. I mean, like whoever your best character is. That's really who should be playing ranked, but there still is like a gap between characters' abilities and stuff like that. So that's ranked. And again, ranked is very loose. Then when we get to competitive, it's not as loose and it's a lot more kind of cut and paste and cut and dry, I guess. Is the best way to talk about it. Now, we have Olympus back in the rotation, and the way that ALGS rule set has been going is they've been doing a map rotation, where previously we had King's Canyon and World's Edge, where there would be 3 games on King's Canyon and then 3 games on World's Edge, and you'd be playing on both maps. And assuming they keep to the same rule set, we're going to be seeing that where you play 3 games on Olympus, 3 games on World's Edge. So the team dynamic is going to change depending on what map you're on. And you'll see that there's a couple characters that'll shift around depending on whether we're on Olympus or World's Edge. But first, we're just going to talk about Olympus. So competitive Olympus, the map is very big and is very open, which makes Wraith and Gibraltar very necessary for the team if you're really just trying to optimize the best team composition you can for the map. Wraith's Portal just helps you get out of these scary areas, like these big scary open areas with a little cover. Gibraltar offers you the cover, as well as his ultimate can just run wild on this map because there's a lot of open space. So there's a lot of just space for his ultimate to really just sit out and just destroy people. They're both just very, very strong characters. Wraith's always been strong. Always been a strong character in competitive. Like, look at the very beginning of the game. She's never gone anywhere. She's always been on every team. Gibraltar's risen up, like, recently. The past few patches, he's really gotten very, very strong. And yeah, just his dome shield offering mobile cover for this map, which is just so big and open, it's just going to be necessary for, like, safe rotations. Also, just he offers some sort of defensive play, which is pretty much what you want on every team. Every team should have the Wraith, so you have the safe mobility, some kind of defensive play, which is usually like a Gibraltar or a Watson, and then somebody who can scan several beacons, which is going to be the third member of your team, Bloodhound, Crypto, or Pathfinder. This one really depends on your team's, on the team's playstyle more than anything. Pathfinder gives, again, some more mobility. Crypto kind of gives that safe, like, scanning the area, more of that safety, as well as you've got that EMP for pushes. And then Bloodhound's just more, I'd say Bloodhound's more of like a aggressive in-your-face type character for more aggressive playstyles. And again, for competitive, these are pre-made squad. These are like sponsored teams who've been playing with each other and practicing for all this stuff, so they know their playstyle. You know, you've got teams like TSM and Complexity and NRG and like all these like pre-made competitive like pro level teams who know their playstyle. So that's why you're not going to be seeing, you know, like these random characters like, oh, maybe Monsoon's best character is Octane, but you're not going to see Monsoon play Octane because Octane doesn't offer nearly as much as Wraith would in competitive. And that's where the character abilities and how they offer in competitive is really going to come to play, and that's why I'm just leaving these guys off the list because you're not going to see them anywhere in competitive, at least on a serious team. So the third character is, you're pretty much like 90% of the teams you're going to see Wraith and Gibby, and then the last character is just going to be one of the survey beacon characters. Watson is optional on Olympus. The map is very big and again, the map's very big and open, so Watson doesn't have a lot of space. And same thing with Cossack here. Doesn't have the tight spaces to really utilize their abilities. And I mean, there are some spots, for example, like Bonsai Plaza and Docks could be areas that Watson could really shine, even some spots in like Turbine. So if the team's playstyle and the team really chooses a landing area such as docks or something like that, then they can do that to play to their playstyle if they really want to keep the Watson on their team. So Watson's optional. She's still got very good abilities, but just we're not gonna be seeing a lot of her on Olympus at least, just because again it's so open and there's such less space to utilize her abilities. Same thing goes for Caustic. It's literally the same thing as Watson. It's just Caustic's abilities are not as good as Watson's. Just because Watson or Caustic's abilities, you can kind of just wait out. Like you can activate the barrel, wait for the gas to go away, and then just push in later. While Watson's fences, you can't get past unless you break them by either shooting them down or throwing grenades in there. And Caustic has no defense against grenades, and Watson can put her pylon out, which not only stops grenades and projectile ultimates like, the Black Hole, Caustic's ultimate, Gibraltar's bombardment, but it also regenerates your shields back, which makes her so much more useful. Caustic's just basically a weaker Watson, and since Watson's already not as good in this map, Caustic's, again, not going to be nearly as good in this map. And he's still like competitively viable, which is why he's kind of in this rare tier. You might see a couple. Again, it really depends on like the team's playstyle. Like if they really fit Caustic over like Gibraltar or Watson, you might see a couple. But it's gonna be pretty rare. It's gonna be very rare on Olympus. Same thing goes for Revenant. Revenant just again the whole team comp was Wraith, Crypto, and Revenant. And Revenant would be in place of someone like Gibby and Watson, which is risky because you lose that safety of like defensive positioning. And since his abilities are just not as good as they were before, since because of the change to Wraith Portal, as well as there's not like safe spots to really put Totem down. You know how like those small buildings you can put Totem in. There's openness, so it's risky to do it, and so you're not really going to see a lot of Revenants. But there still might be a couple teams that really go for like a super hyper aggressive Totem push. Or you might see like the Wraith Crypto Revenant team still show up here and there. So so his abilities are definitely competitively viable, which is why he's here in rare. But we're really not going to be seeing like much of him, if any of them, in competitive Olympus. So that's kind of a breakdown of Olympus. You're going to be seeing again Wraith and Gibby, and then paired with one of these three survey characters, depends on the playstyle. Watson is optional, but kind of like more of a niche on this map, and then Caustic and Revenant are very rare. You're really not going to be seeing it much on Olympus. Now when we get into World's Edge, we kind of get back to a more familiar meta. Again, Horizon, the new character, isn't quite good enough to be fit for competitive play, so we're essentially seeing the same meta that we saw before, where Wraith is necessary. She's just for the same reasons. Her portal is just so necessary for high level, top level play. Defense, you're going to see some kind of combination of Watson, Gibraltar. You might see more Gibraltars now. I think it's pretty well agreed upon that Watson might be slightly better on World's Edge and King's Canyon than Gibby is. The fact that Gibby is just so exponentially better on Olympus, we might be seeing more Gibbies just because people wouldn't want to change up their playstyle as much. You might have some teams you'll have the Watson player switch to Gibby on Olympus and switch back to Watson on World's Edge. But you might just have some people just stay Gibby on both maps. But yeah, you're gonna be seeing one of these two defensive characters, maybe a couple of Caustics, but for the same reasons listed before, he's just not as good as these two, so he's gonna be a little bit more rare. And then again, you've got one of the three survey characters. It's pretty much the same story. If you want the higher aggression, if you want the EMP and safety, or if you want the zipline for mobility. And yeah, same story for Revenant. So World's Edge is pretty much going to be very similar to what we saw before. And the list doesn't change super drastically between World's Edge and Olympus. All you really see is the shift of Watson. Well, really, you're not going to see Watson on Olympus, but on World's Edge, you're going to be seeing plenty of her. And then Olympus, you're going to be pretty much always be seeing a Gibby, while these three are going to be interchangeable. Yeah, so Watson's really the only character that moves around at all. But it's nice to still just look at it and like see some of the few differences that might occur between Olympus and World's Edge. So that's kind of a breakdown of how competitive is going to look, and as well as the split from ranked. If you guys have any questions on some of the characters, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'll try to get to them as quickly as possible. And yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying Season 7 as much as I am. Stay tuned in for my streams and more videos coming ahead, and I will see you guys in the next video.